Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DeChara coming to you live from downtown Flushing, New York for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business. And it's been a long time, folks, when I was on here about 20 minutes ago talking about grants and getting government back SBA loans and getting SBA certified and doing not-for-profits. I'm going to take a completely different approach now, and this is important because it's all about how broken the IRS is. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and I know something about computer programming, and there is something just seriously wrong with what's going on. Forget about losing stimulus checks and all that. I'll give you the first nugget is I have a college buddy I went to school with. I did his daughter's return, and she didn't give me her checking info. So if you don't do direct deposit, you're going to get mailed a check. Now, I've been talking about how messed up not only the IRS is, but also the post office. So he's asking me, where's my daughter's refund check? What address did you use? So I told him what I tell everybody, the only way to find out is to go to, irs.gov and go to where's my refund? Well, he goes to he's one of the few that actually got information, because most people, they go on there and then they say we're processing it or no information is available, and that's even worse. But he got an explanation. The check was delivered, but it was marked as undeliverable by the post office. So he said, what address did you use? So, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. The truth is his daughter moved. I didn't know about it. He didn't tell me. So I used his address. That's the address we've been using since she started filing tax returns. So I put this question out to you. If I had the right address, how is that undeliverable? I could see if it was the wrong address, like an address that didn't exist or something, but that just doesn't make any sense at all. He had to call the IRS and they have to issue a new check. Did the post office lose it? I don't know. I got a feeling it was the post office. So we're not only dealing with the incompetency of the IRS, we're also dealing with a broken post office. Now, I'm not an expert in the post office, but what I do know is they were devastated by COVID just as badly, if not worse, than the IRS. And if you know anything about the post office's budget, they're in a bad situation too. They just do nothing but lose money every year. So that's just a simple recent example of what's going on. So here's one that there's so many twists and turns. I had to make a list of this poor client. He went to a CPA in 2018 and the guy botched it. He forgot to include a $50,000 pension distribution. The guy, and he took an early pension distribution. So if you forget to put something like that on your return, it catches up with you. It usually takes 18 months to 24 months, but they send a letter saying, okay, you didn't report this and you owe us more money. They don't ask for an explanation. They just send you a bill, including interest and penalties. So he gets a bill for $14,000, and he's freaking out because somehow he thinks that, well, what happened was he forgot I didn't prepare that return. So I'm like, listen, I didn't prepare the return, and I knew that he forgot to put the pension stuff in, and there's nothing I can do about it. And so we just take it verbatim that he owed the $14,000 that they said. So the only thing you could do then is, if you don't have the money to pay, you do an installment agreement. So he goes online, follows my advice. The installment agreement is calculated. They just say, okay, you want the installment agreement, this is what you're going to pay. It was $1,640 a month. It's going to be taken out of your bank account every 14th. So on the 14th of every month, he's supposed to get the debit, the payment towards the taxes. So he does that. First glitch is they only take out 1 month. They only take out March. They don't take out April, May. They didn't take out June. So he calls me frantically, well, not frantically now, but concerned, and I don't blame him. So I told him what the best thing to do is keep the money on the side. Don't spend it, because eventually it's going to catch up with us. I don't know why they stopped taking the money out. And I didn't want him to send in a check because it might get lost. I mean, I've been hearing horror stories about that. So what I told him to do was go online and get a complete transcript of whatever's available. Now, they can only go back to 2018. So it was pretty interesting when we get the 2018 transcript. It's showing that he doesn't owe 14,000, that he only owes about 6,000. So I go through the transcript, and he had a $10,000 credit because from that retirement fund, he had $10,000 withheld. So the first thing, he didn't owe an additional 14,000 because they didn't give him the credit for that withholding. So the amount they told him was wrong from the beginning. So fast forward, I file now we do 2019 and he owes money. Not as much. He owed like $2,600. Well, they're not even showing that on the system that he owes that money. It's bizarre. So the guy wants to pay the money. They're like, you don't owe us the money. Well, it's on the transcript. We owe $2,600. So there's nothing we can do about that except stay in a holding pattern. Eventually, it's going to catch up with him because they always, if you owe them money, they don't lose it. It's coming back, believe me. So 2020, we do his return. Now he's more organized. He's getting a $326 refund. So I tell him what they're going to do is you're not going to get the refund. They're going to apply it against the money you owe. So I just got on the phone with him because, now he's got the transcripts. He's like, what do I actually owe? It turns out between 2018 and 2019, he owes less than $10,000. That's a lot less than the 17 that he thought he owed. But that's not all, folks. So he tells me that they sent him a check for the $326, which I said, how is that possible? You owe them money. They're supposed to just automatically apply it to your taxes. Well, we go through the transcript, and guess what? They did apply it. They gave him the credit for $326, and they sent him the check. This is bizarre, folks. If you know anything about computer programming, this is supposed to be all automated. Computers don't make these kinds of mistakes. So something is seriously, seriously wrong with their computer systems. So long story short, with him, we're just in a holding pattern. It's just like, let's wait for them to catch up with us. You keep the money on the side. And yeah, interest and penalties are still adding up. That's one of the drawbacks. We have the option of mailing in a check, but knowing what's going on with the post office, I'm hesitant to do that. We're probably going to revisit this in a month And I might have to get a power of attorney and call them and get it straightened out. Now, the problem is, and he's got to pay me for that time, and that's really not fair. It's not fair because he's a small business owner. He just wants to pay his taxes, and they're not letting him. This is a first. This is the first time I've ever seen this, and I'm doing this close to 40 years now. Now, I bring this to a big case. Okay, this is a relatively small, everything's relative. This is devastating to him. He's going to get out of it. But what if you got a bill in the mail for $250,000 that you're like, why do I owe this? Well, that's what happened to a client of mine. She came to me as a referral because what had happened was she was running a trucking company in 2018. And they went out of business, okay, because the insurance just went sky high. They just couldn't do it anymore. So, people go out of business. Well, she didn't know that she got audited. Believe it or not, she was being audited. For whatever reason, you're supposed to get a notice saying you're getting audited. She gets her stimulus checks. Oh no, I'm sorry. Before that, she did get a letter. This was over a year ago, January of 2020. She gets a letter. You're getting audited. This is what we need. Now, the process has already started. So the time is already ticking. You only have so much time to answer these notices. There's a statute of limitations. So the auditor says, please just send me all of the receipts, all the documents to prove that you're entitled to these deductions. And it was about $500,000 in deductions. Let's say $530,000, and the revenue was $500,000. Let me just preface this by saying she got audited because her accountant was a moron. The woman totally botched I don't know where she learned how to do taxes, but I would have, when I looked at it, I said, if you didn't get audited, I would have been surprised. And not going into detail, she got audited. She's giving the auditor all of the information, very little communication between them. In the interim, she files her 2020 tax return. She gets her refund. She gets her stimulus checks. So she's thinking, well, it's all taken care of. It's done. I gave them what they want, and I don't have a problem. Well, lo and behold, she gets a letter saying that she owes not only $200,000 in taxes, but an additional $50,000 for filing a frivolous return as a penalty. So now she owes the IRS $250,000. The poor woman went out of business and is working a clerical job, probably making $40,000. I didn't even ask her. All I wanted to do was fix this for her. So this is another bizarre case where the auditor, what he did was he only asked her one question. How did your accountant come up with these numbers? And she said, I don't know, because I gave her everything I gave you, which was detailed insurance policies, fuel and truck receipts, repairs and maintenance. But the big number was the wages. So she had ADP, and it was like over $260,000 in wages that she paid her employees. Well, the auditor said he sends her. So this was the crux of it. Once I got to the bottom of it and I started reading all the paperwork, what the IRS auditor did was he disallowed all of the deductions, claiming that they were not business related. How are they not? Who in their right mind would pay $260,000 in wages, $60,000 in truck repairs, $80,000 in insurance? Who would do that if it's not for a business? So he disallowed everything. So guess what? She's paying taxes on $500,000 of income. But that's not all, folks, because then the state would get involved. If that ever went through, she would have owed New York State like another 100 grand. So I got involved. I wrote some letters, and this is what I told them, because now what happened was this was so far into the process that there was only a couple of weeks left before it became an assessment. In other words, you can't fight it anymore. See, the way the audit process works is you have one level, you get audited, then you can appeal. And then if you don't like that appeal, you can appeal again. And then if you don't like that, you can file a petition with the tax court. So now you're in a different section of the government. Now you're in the judiciary. The IRS is out of the picture. And we've done that plenty of times. And I'll tell you what happens when you do that. So the original auditor, who I think was rogue and I think had serious problems, because this was just way out of the ordinary. I get on the phone with the new auditor and I said, listen, you got all the information already. I will gladly send you another copy of all of the information, but it's going to be boxes, because we got bank statements, we got receipts, we have insurance policies, we got everything. Or I can file a petition with the tax court, and all of these are going to look very bad, because the judge is going to look at you and say, what are you doing? Well, guess what? A few days later, we get a call saying she doesn't owe any money. And we're going to send an apology letter, which I was pretty skeptical about, because I've never seen that. A couple of weeks later, she gets the apology letter. They said, the form that we sent you was sent in error. That's it. They didn't mention anything about the audit. They just said it was sent in error. This woman went through a year of agony. That's what we're dealing with here, folks, and it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. She went to a professional. She went to a tax preparer that she had been going to for years. The problem is she was going to the father of the new tax preparer. And she just figured, well, it's his daughter and she must have learned everything from him, so I'm safe. No, she wasn't safe. So, you got to be aware of what you're dealing with. You got to make sure that you have a legitimate tax professional, not just an accountant. Not just an accountant. You want to get a CPA that specializes in small businesses, or an enrolled agent. Actually, I would say enrolled agents are a better choice, because just because somebody's a CPA does not mean they know anything about taxes. There are all kinds of accountants. Plenty of accountants have very little experience dealing with the IRS. They might know how to prepare a return. Those are data entry clerks. They're just taking information and they're plugging it into a computer program. That's my story. I'm sticking with it. If you have a tax problem, please call me or schedule a free appointment with me, timewithjoe.com. It's no obligation. If you got a notice or anything, if you have some kind of situation, I would be more than happy to talk to you about it. That's my story again. I'm sticking with it. God bless. And I will see you again tomorrow for another amazing episode of How to Win at Business. Thank you.